I wake up to the familiar buzz of my alarm at 6:30 a.m., though it feels more like the sound of reality coming down on me than anything else. There's this heavy feeling, a weight in my chest that starts as soon as I open my eyes. I try to ignore it, like I've been doing for months now, but it doesn't go away. The rent's due next week, I haven't had enough to cover groceries in days, and it feels like I'm always just a step behind. Even now, in the quiet of my room, I know that today will be just like yesterday, a fight for survival. I get up, throw on the same outfit I've been wearing for a few days, and head to the kitchen. The fridge is almost empty, just some wilted spinach and half a carton of eggs. I can't remember the last time I actually enjoyed a meal. The food I buy is the cheapest I can find, and I count every dollar in my head as I walk down the grocery store aisles. The rising prices are suffocating. I used to feel pride in how I could stretch $1, but now I feel like I'm constantly failing at it. I make my coffee from the leftover grounds in the jar because the idea of buying another bag right now, well, it just feels irresponsible. But I'm tired. I can feel it in my bones. The exhaustion of this constant hustle to stay afloat. The worst part is, I don't have anyone to turn to. Not really. My parents are retired, barely scraping by themselves, and they don't know the full extent of what I'm dealing with. It would break them to see how deep I'm sinking. So I keep it all inside, try to keep up the appearance of someone who's got it together. The truth is, I'm scared. I'm terrified that one bad week will turn into a bad month, and then I'll be stuck. As I leave my apartment for work, I pass by the same fast food places, the same stores I can't afford to shop at, and the feeling of being locked in this cycle is overwhelming. I'm 25, and I thought by now I'd have a better sense of where my life was headed. But instead, I feel like I'm just treading water. The hours at my job drag by. I'm a barista at a small cafe in the city, which should be a cozy enough place, except I'm constantly on edge. I can't afford to take a sick day, I can't afford to make a mistake that will cost me a shift. Every hour worked is just more of me trying to scrape by. And the tips? A few dollars here and there, nothing consistent. It's not enough to build any real savings. I've tried looking for other jobs, something better, something with a little more promise, but it always feels like every opportunity requires more experience or skills that I don't have, or they're just plain out of reach financially. I see posts on social media from people my age talking about their big dreams and job offers, and it's like I'm watching life happen for everyone else while I'm stuck behind a counter, handing out lattes. There's an ever-present noise in my head, how long can I keep this up? I'm barely holding on. And what's worse, I've stopped dreaming. It used to be that I could imagine a future where I'd have my own place, maybe a dog, the ability to travel once in a while, or even just sit in a cafe and actually enjoy the coffee I'm drinking without constantly thinking about my bank account. But now? My future feels like a fog, distant and intangible. Every decision I make is rooted in survival. Do I buy gas today, or do I hold off another day? Do I pay this bill, or do I risk it for the chance of making it through the next week? I don't even know what it's like to just want something anymore, like the simple joy of a night out with friends or a spontaneous trip. Those dreams feel like they belong to someone else, someone who doesn't live with the weight of constant financial anxiety hanging over their head. I cope by numbing myself. I've cut out so many things from my life to save money: cable, streaming services, going out, eating out. The silence of my apartment is deafening some nights, but I've learned to live with it. On the rare occasion that I do treat myself to a meal that's not just pasta or rice, I feel guilty. It's like I'm stealing from my future self, borrowing pleasure from a future I'm not even sure will exist. The worst part is, no matter how hard I work, it always feels like I'm not getting anywhere. My paycheck comes in, and it disappears before I even have a chance to hold on to it. Rent, utilities, student loans, credit card bills, everything's a reminder of how little I'm actually managing to keep up. And every time I feel like I've figured out how to survive another month, something else comes up. A medical bill I didn't expect, the car breaks down, or the price of groceries rises again. And it's back to square one. Some days, I just want to scream. But I hold it in because I don't have the luxury of breaking down. I don't have time to be weak. I have to keep moving, keep pushing, keep pretending like I've got this. I don't want anyone to see how exhausted I am. And yet, there are moments where it all feels too much. There are nights when I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, asking myself where all my dreams went. I used to want to write, to create, to travel, to make something beautiful out of my life. Now, all I want is a bit of peace. I want to be able to wake up in the morning without that tightness in my chest, without feeling like my next meal is a luxury I can't afford. I want to feel like I'm not drowning. But it's hard to see any way out. I don't have the resources to change anything. The dreams I've had? They're not gone, exactly, but they feel like they belong to someone else. I put them on hold for now, because I have to. I don't have a choice. It's like life has become this tightrope walk, where every step I take is calculated, every choice is weighed against the next. I have to keep surviving, because if I stop, even for a second, I fear I'll fall. But maybe that's the worst part of all, the fear of falling. The fear that no matter how hard I try, the world is going to keep pushing me down. That the system is stacked against me in ways I don't fully understand, and I'm just a cog in a machine that doesn't care. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how long I can keep this up. But I'm trying to hold on to whatever little bit of hope I have left, even if it's just the tiniest thread. I'm trying to believe that somehow, someday, things will be different. That I'll be able to breathe again, to dream again, without the weight of money hanging over me. But for now, I keep going. Because, what else is there to do? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I wake up every morning to the same overwhelming weight in my chest. It's a mix of exhaustion and fear, like I'm standing on a tightrope, trying not to look down, but I can't help myself. I do. I'm 24, but the pressure I feel is heavy enough to age me years. I'm not sure when it happened, when everything started to feel like a constant uphill battle, but here I am. Every day feels like a negotiation between what I need to do and what I wish I could do. My alarm rings at 6:30 a.m., but I'm already awake. I haven't been able to sleep properly for months. Between worrying about bills, student loans, and my job, sleep feels like a luxury I can't afford. I roll out of bed, my head foggy, but my mind already racing through the mental list of things I need to handle today. It's always the same, figure out how to make it through another day without falling further into the pit. The reality is that I'm stuck in a cycle I can't seem to break. I take a quick look at my bank account while waiting for the shower to warm up. Another paycheck's been deposited, but it doesn't feel like it's mine for long. There's rent, utilities, the car payment, and then the crushing weight of my student loan payments that don't seem to be going anywhere. I try not to look too closely at the numbers because it's painful. If I do, I'll see how little is left, and I'll just sink into the despair of it all. Instead, I ignore it and keep moving, as I always do. I remind myself, I have to keep going, the shower helps, a brief moment of calm before I have to put on the mask for the world. I pull on my work clothes, a mix of okay enough and I don't have the energy to care. My hair looks a little flat, but there's no time to fix it. I'm already late, as usual. I take a deep breath and step out the door. The weather's cold this morning, and I pull my jacket tighter around me. I've always hated winter, but this year it feels worse. The cold isn't just the temperature anymore, it's how everything feels so distant, how every day is just a fight to stay afloat. The drive to work is like every other morning. I'm stuck in traffic, my car vibrating a little more than it should. It's been making a strange noise for weeks now, but I can't afford to get it fixed. I keep hoping it'll just stop on its own, that I can keep pushing through. If I start thinking about it too much, about all the ways I'm barely holding things together, I'll break down. And breaking down isn't an option. Not yet. Work isn't any better. I'm in a job that isn't terrible, but it's not a place I want to be. I didn't picture myself in an office cubicle, shuffling papers and answering emails all day, but here I am. I think about what I'd rather be doing: traveling, working for a nonprofit, writing, or even just doing something that doesn't feel like I'm selling pieces of myself for a paycheck. But dreams like that feel distant. The people around me have been here for years, and they don't seem to mind, or if they do, they don't show it. But for me? It's a constant reminder of how far behind I am. Everyone else seems to have it together, and I'm just trying to stay afloat. The financial stress is in everything I do. When I go grocery shopping, I pick up the cheapest options. I don't even bother looking at the things I used to love, the things I could buy when I had a little more freedom. It's not about cutting back, it's about cutting down to the bone. I can't afford to eat out, even though I miss it. I've canceled plans with friends more times than I care to admit because I can't justify spending the money. I don't have new clothes, I don't have a new phone, and sometimes, I don't even have a good meal to eat. I remember a time, maybe a couple of years ago, when I had big dreams. I thought that by this age, I'd have a clearer path, I'd be doing what I loved, or at least building toward it. But here I am, every day just trying to keep the lights on. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, everything would fall into place. But it's not that simple anymore. There are days when I look at myself in the mirror and feel like I've let myself down. I used to be full of hope, but now hope feels like an illusion. I can't remember the last time I sat down and didn't feel this gnawing sense of anxiety at the back of my mind, telling me that this is as good as it's going to get. Even my relationships feel different now. I'm constantly in the red, financially and emotionally. I don't have the energy to keep up with friends the way I used to. We talk less and less because I'm always either working or trying to figure out how to pay off something. It's hard to explain the feeling of being isolated in a sea of people. Everyone around me seems to be going places, buying new things, building lives I can't afford. And I'm stuck here, watching from the sidelines, hoping that someday I'll get a break. But that hope is starting to feel like a joke. Sometimes I think about my future, or at least, the future I imagined for myself. I was supposed to be traveling the world by now, writing stories, meeting people who inspire me. I wanted to make a difference in the world, not just punch in and out of a job I don't care about. But I've had to push those dreams to the back of my mind. I don't know when they'll come true, or if they ever will. They're just there. I can't reach them, but I can't let go of them either. And so I keep telling myself that maybe tomorrow will be the day I finally make a change. But deep down, I know I'm running out of time. I wish I could say that I have a plan, that I know what comes next, but I don't. All I have is today, and even that feels uncertain. Every time I get a little ahead, something happens to knock me back. A surprise bill, an unexpected expense, or even just the rising costs of everything: food, gas, rent, all of it climbs faster than my paycheck can catch up. I'm not a failure, I tell myself. I'm doing the best I can. But some days, that doesn't feel like enough. I try to keep some semblance of hope alive. I tell myself that things will get better, that I'll figure this out. I have to figure it out. But right now, all I feel is stuck. And it's hard to know how long I can keep going like this before something breaks. Maybe it'll be me. Maybe it'll be the system. But one way or another, I feel like something has to give. Until then, I'll keep going. I'll keep fighting for the little victories, paying off a small credit card bill, making sure my car doesn't break down, managing to eat something halfway decent once a week. I'll keep dreaming, even if the dreams seem impossible. Because right now, that's all I've got. I wake up to the same reality every day, and it hits me the moment my eyes open, like a weight pressing down on my chest, heavy and suffocating. I grab my phone, check the bank account. No surprises. Still the same number, barely enough to make it to the end of the month, let alone cover the unexpected things that always seem to pop up. My mind immediately starts racing through the to-do list, but today, as usual, I know the first thing I'll be doing is deciding which bills I can defer, which ones I can push back until I can scrape together some more cash. Some days, I just wish I could turn it off. The constant low hum of anxiety in the background of everything I do. I want to focus on work, on relationships, on my passions, but the thought of how I'm going to survive another month always looms, like a dark cloud. The world keeps moving around me. People are posting their vacations on Instagram, their new cars, their new homes, and I'm still here, stuck in this cycle, counting pennies and wondering if I'm ever going to get ahead. I've never been reckless with money. I grew up with a single mom who worked tirelessly to provide for us, teaching me early on the importance of budgeting, planning, and saving. I remember how she used to say, "If you're not smart with your money, it'll slip right through your fingers." And I've tried. God, I've tried. But it feels like I'm swimming against a current that's only getting stronger, faster. Rent's gone up again. The rent I'm paying now is already high for a one-bedroom, but the place is all I can afford. It's small, the walls are thin, and every time I hear the neighbors arguing or the trains rumbling by, I think to myself, this can't be it. This can't be where I'm supposed to stay forever. But here I am. It's the only option for now. Because, where else would I go? What other choice do I have? There are moments when I let myself imagine a future where I'm not scraping by, where I'm not constantly battling bills and trying to make ends meet. I dream of a day where I can walk into a store and buy something without looking at the price tag first, or where I could take a weekend trip without worrying about how many hours I'd need to work just to cover the cost. But those dreams feel distant. Unreal. Like they're part of someone else's life, not mine. I've learned to put them aside, to focus on surviving today rather than planning for tomorrow. I don't talk to many people about this. I guess that's what makes it feel even worse, this sense of isolation. Everyone's in the same boat, right? But somehow, it feels like I'm the only one who's sinking. I scroll through my friends' social media posts, and I see the vacations, the dinners, the celebrations. And then there's me, stuck in this routine, feeling guilty if I even buy myself a coffee on a bad day. I tell myself, just get through today. Get through today, and tomorrow might be better. But it's hard to believe when you're stuck in the same cycle. I used to dream of bigger things. I used to picture myself in a better job, with the kind of stability where I could plan my life. But now, my job feels like a dead end. I'm grateful, of course, I'm lucky to have a job at all. But it's not enough to build the life I thought I'd have by now. My hours are long, the work is draining, and despite my best efforts, my income barely grows. I've tried to pick up side gigs, do freelance work, but the pay is inconsistent, and the burnout is real. The extra money I make goes right back into bills or the car repair I didn't see coming. There's no room for anything else. No room for hobbies, no time for a social life. No time for me. I keep pushing forward because what else can I do? I can't stop. But each day, I feel a little more of myself slipping away, like I'm losing pieces of who I am in the process of just trying to make it. I'm starting to question whether it's worth it, this whole hustle to survive. Is it worth constantly being exhausted? To feel like I'm giving everything to a system that doesn't care about me, about people like me, just so I can stay afloat? I've tried to budget. I've cut back on everything I could, no more going out to eat, no more buying new clothes, no more unnecessary anything. I canceled the streaming services, stopped going to the movies, and I've turned my phone bill into the bare minimum, all in an attempt to make ends meet. But even with all that, it's still not enough. There are days when I sit in front of my bank statement, staring at the numbers, and wonder if I'll ever be able to climb out of this hole. Sometimes, I think about what it would be like to just walk away, to leave everything behind and start fresh. But that's not an option. There's too much at stake. My student loans are breathing down my neck, and the credit card companies won't stop calling. My mom's getting older, and I feel this constant pressure to make sure I'm able to help her out if she needs it. I have responsibilities, dreams I can't afford to chase anymore, and a future that feels like it's slipping away faster than I can grab hold of it. It's hard to see a way out. The world outside my door is expensive, and every time I turn around, I'm reminded that it's designed to leave people like me behind. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can, that it's not my fault the economy is what it is, that I can't control the rising costs of living. But it doesn't make it easier. I feel trapped. I feel like I'm playing a game where the rules keep changing, but I never get to catch up. I wish I could say I have hope. Some days, I do. On rare days when I get a little extra in my paycheck or something unexpected happens, I feel that flicker of possibility. But it never lasts long. I know the cycle will repeat. I know the bills will come, and the expenses will rise, and I'll keep fighting, keep scrimping, keep holding on just a little longer. But it's hard. It's so hard. To see everyone else moving ahead, living their lives, while I feel like I'm standing still. I don't know when things will change, or if they ever will. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this before it breaks me. I want to believe things will get better. I want to hold on to the hope that one day, I'll be able to live without fear of financial ruin, that I'll be able to take those trips, buy the things I need, and finally feel like I have some breathing room. But for now, I'll keep pushing through the grind. I'll keep trying to hold it together, even when it feels like the weight of the world is too much to bear. I just hope, someday, it'll be enough. I woke up this morning to the sound of my phone vibrating, the screen flashing a notification that my rent is due in 3 days. The usual weight settled in my chest, that familiar sense of urgency and dread. I rolled out of bed and went straight to the kitchen. The counter was cluttered with unopened bills. I wasn't sure which ones I had already paid, but I didn't have to check. They'd all be due again soon enough. The microwave beeped, signaling that my oatmeal was ready, but I didn't feel like eating. I've never been one to skip meals, but lately, it's been hard to keep food down. I'm 24, and at this point, I can't even remember the last time I felt like I was moving forward. The rent is up. The utilities keep increasing. Gas prices? Don't even get me started. I used to joke with friends about the quarter-life crisis, but I didn't realize how real it would feel. The world around me seems to be moving forward with momentum, and I'm stuck running in place, trying to keep up, but always falling behind. It wasn't supposed to be like this. When I graduated, I had dreams. Big ones. I had visions of starting my own business, moving into a nice apartment, maybe even traveling a little. I'd go out for drinks, visit art galleries, and attend the occasional concert. But here I am, 5 years later, still scraping together enough to cover the essentials. Every month is a tightrope walk between paying rent and hoping I can buy groceries. It's the constant noise of this economic pressure that gets to me. I feel it in my body, this undercurrent of tension. My stomach aches with stress, my shoulders are always tight. I've started picking at my nails when I'm anxious, and I can never seem to get a full night's sleep. The thing is, I've tried everything I can think of to break the cycle. I've cut back on almost everything, no more spontaneous takeout, no more weekend trips, and I even canceled my gym membership. My friends don't understand. To them, I'm just being careful or practical. But I know the truth. It's not about being careful, it's about surviving. There's a kind of sadness that comes with the realization that the dreams you had are slipping away. I used to tell myself I could still make it, that I could keep pushing through. But when the bills pile up and every paycheck feels smaller than the last, that kind of hope becomes harder to maintain. I know I'm not the only one in this position. There are millions of people like me, working 2 jobs, hustling, hoping the economy will give us a break. But it doesn't. It feels like we're all caught in this system that's rigged to keep us struggling. I remember last month when I had to put off a doctor's appointment. It wasn't life or death, just a routine checkup, but I couldn't justify the cost. Healthcare has become another luxury I can't afford. It's one of those things that doesn't seem like a big deal when it's not affecting you directly, but when you're stuck in a place like this, everything feels like a compromise. I tell myself, I'll be fine, but I know the truth, I'm just avoiding the inevitable. Then there are the moments when I look at my bank account and feel that pang of panic. It's not just about the money, it's about the growing realization that I'm not in control. I don't have the luxury of taking risks or exploring opportunities that don't guarantee immediate returns. Everything has to be calculated, every decision has to have a backup plan. I look at people around me who seem to be doing okay, maybe even thriving, and I wonder where I went wrong. Why am I stuck in this endless cycle while everyone else is moving forward? It's hard not to feel bitter sometimes. I try not to let it show, but I can't help it. The world feels unfair, like the harder I work, the more I slip behind. The bills pile up. My student loan payments are a constant reminder of my past, the education I thought would open doors but instead feels like an anchor dragging me down. I haven't been able to get ahead, not even for a moment. Sometimes, when I'm driving to work, I look around and think about how I've had to put everything on hold. I don't have a savings account anymore, it's a luxury I had to give up. I can't remember the last time I allowed myself to dream about something bigger, something beyond survival. I used to want to start a business, take that trip to Europe, and even buy a house one day. Now, I'd settle for just not having to think about money every second of the day. I used to have hope that things would get better. When I was younger, I thought the world would be kind to me if I worked hard enough. But that's not how it works, is it? The world doesn't care if you work yourself to the bone. It doesn't care that you're putting in 60-hour weeks just to make ends meet. I keep hearing the phrase, just keep going, but after a while, I wonder, what's the point? What am I working for if it's only to stay afloat, not to live? But still, I keep pushing. I don't have any other choice. I get up every day because if I don't, nothing will change. I remind myself that this is temporary, even though it doesn't feel like it. I can't stop working, can't stop trying. Maybe one day, things will click, and I'll be able to catch up. Maybe I'll get a raise or land that one big client. Or maybe, I'll just keep doing what I've always done, staying afloat, one breath at a time. Lately, I've been trying to shift my mindset. Instead of focusing on the endless list of things I can't afford, I've been trying to remind myself of what I can control. I can still make small choices that align with my values. I can decide to cook instead of ordering takeout. I can spend time with people who care about me rather than isolating myself out of shame for not being successful enough. But it's hard. The pressure, the weight of it, is always there. Some days, I wonder if this is just how life is for people like me. Maybe the system is designed to keep us in this place, constantly hustling, constantly fighting for the bare minimum. I don't know if I'll ever reach the life I thought I'd have. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the dreams I had aren't meant to be realized in the way I imagined. Maybe my story is meant to be written in the small victories, in the moments when I can finally breathe again after paying off a bill or getting through a particularly tough week. I hope, one day, I'll be able to look back and see this time as a chapter of growth, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. I don't know how long it will take, but I know I have to keep moving forward, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Maybe that's the only way to get through it. Maybe that's how you make it out of a system that doesn't want you to succeed, by refusing to give up. So, for now, I keep going. I keep waking up, facing the bills, the rent, the debt. I keep hoping, even when it feels like the hope is running out. And maybe, someday, I'll get to the other side of this, where dreams are still possible, where I'm no longer trapped. Until then, I keep breathing. One step at a time. It's 6:30 a.m., and I'm staring at the same cracked ceiling I've woken up to every day for the past year. The quiet hum of the refrigerator is the only sound in the room. My phone's already vibrating with notifications, mostly emails from work, a few from friends asking if I want to hang out this weekend. They don't know how many times I've clicked ignore on those. Who has the energy for that? Or the money? I roll out of bed, tugging on my worn-out sneakers. A few months ago, I could have made myself a decent breakfast, maybe even a smoothie if I was feeling fancy. But now, it's a quick cup of instant oatmeal, if I can find any that hasn't expired. I can feel the weight of every dollar spent, like a shadow that never leaves me. I've stopped going to the store to browse. That's a luxury now, and I know exactly how much I can spend without dipping into my savings, or what little savings I have left. The constant stress makes it hard to breathe sometimes. The world feels like it's speeding by, and I'm standing still, my feet stuck in thick mud. I check my bank balance every morning, even though I already know what it's going to say. Same as yesterday. Same as last week. Same as it's been for months. My paycheck comes every 2 weeks, and yet, by the time it hits my account, it's already earmarked for something else. Rent. Utilities. Car payment. And that's not even including groceries. I've stopped buying clothes unless something rips or falls apart entirely. I used to care about looking good. But now, I can barely care about getting through the week. It's not that I'm bad with money. I was always taught to budget, to plan for the future, to be smart. But these days, it feels like every move I make is a step backward. Rent has gone up, gas prices keep climbing, and I can't remember the last time I saw something on sale that I could actually afford. I've stopped going to the places I used to enjoy, like the coffee shop I used to work at before my current job. A latte feels like a betrayal to my bank account now, a luxury for the rich. Sometimes, I wonder what would happen if I just didn't pay one of my bills. If I let one slip through the cracks. The thought terrifies me, because I know exactly what would happen. My credit score would plummet. Late fees would stack up. The phone calls would start. I'd have to make a choice between paying the minimum payment on a credit card or covering the cost of a doctor's appointment I can't afford. And I'd choose the credit card. Always the credit card. Because at least they won't shut off my electricity. What really gets to me, though, is the feeling of being trapped. Trapped in a system that feels like it's designed for people to fail, and yet, I'm still here. I'm trying so hard to keep my head above water, and every time I think I've found a little air, something else comes along to pull me under. The rent hike. The car repair. The unexpected medical bill. The small expenses that add up to a drowning ocean of how am I going to make it this month? It's exhausting. My friends don't get it. Not really. They're all talking about vacations, new clothes, trips to bars and restaurants. I can barely afford a dinner out with them, and when I do go, I end up feeling guilty for spending money that could have gone toward groceries. They don't see how each decision I make takes a toll on me. How much emotional energy it takes to decide whether or not I can justify a $3 coffee, knowing that I have $1.50 left for the week. And then there's the constant pressure to live your best life. People post about their perfect vacations, their new gadgets, their picture-perfect families. They don't talk about the struggle. The people like me, who get home at night, collapse on the couch, and feel like they're one emergency away from losing everything. I don't know what it's like to have the freedom to splurge or take a break. I don't know what it's like to be able to save money for the future. The worst part is when I think about my dreams, the ones I had before everything got so complicated. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be able to write full-time, to make a career out of my passion. But now, writing feels like a luxury I can't afford. I write, sure, but it's always on the side, late at night when I should be sleeping. It's not the career I imagined. It's just something to hold on to, something that makes me feel like I'm not completely lost. But those dreams, traveling, writing books, living in a small city apartment where I can feel like I belong, seem so far away now. So impossible. I feel like I'm just working to survive. Day by day, week by week, paycheck by paycheck. I don't have time to dream. I can't afford to dream. I've learned to adjust my expectations, but it's hard. I want to be hopeful, to believe that things will get better. But hope feels fragile these days. It feels like something that gets lost under the weight of bills, rising prices, and the feeling of being stuck. Maybe it will get better someday, but for now, it's hard to imagine a future that doesn't look like this, barely scraping by, always wondering if the next paycheck will be enough to get me through. I have days when I feel like I've given up on anything outside of just surviving. But I also have moments, quiet moments, like this one, where I remember that I do want more. I want a future where I'm not calculating how many meals I can skip to make it through the week. I want a future where I can afford to breathe again. But it's hard to see that future from here. I try to cope the best I can. I remind myself that I'm doing my best, that I'm not failing even if it feels like I am. I've found small joys, like a cup of tea in the evening, the rare afternoon when I don't feel completely drained. I've learned to find beauty in the little things, because those are the things I can still hold on to. I keep writing, even when I think no one will read it. I keep hoping, even when hope feels like a distant memory. It's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't been in this situation. The constant weight of financial uncertainty. The mental exhaustion that comes with wondering how you'll make it through the next month. The feeling of being stuck in a system where everything costs more than you make, and the only way to keep up is to keep hustling, keep working, keep pretending everything is okay. But it's not okay. And I'm not okay. But I'm here. And that has to be enough for now. I keep hoping that someday, I'll wake up and things will be different. Maybe I'll be able to breathe again. Maybe the world won't feel so heavy. Maybe I'll find a way to make my dreams come true, even if I have to do it one small step at a time. Until then, I'll keep waking up. I'll keep trying. And I'll keep hoping. I wake up to the same sound every morning, the soft buzz of my phone alarm, followed by a quick check of my bank account, where the numbers never seem to change. The balance always feels a little too low, a little too distant from where it should be. The weight of it hits me immediately, like a fog that clouds everything, even the sunlight streaming through the blinds. I roll out of bed, my limbs stiff, but I move quickly, like I've done this routine 1,000 times before. There's always this strange sense of urgency, like if I don't get out of bed fast enough, the day might slip away from me, or worse, I'll be stuck in a limbo where nothing gets done. I throw on whatever clothes I can find, grabbing my jacket even though it's too warm out. I've stopped caring about how I look. It's a battle between comfort and trying to blend into the world that keeps going, the world that seems so effortlessly busy while I'm still stuck figuring out how to make the rent. Work starts soon, and I feel the familiar knot of anxiety tightening in my chest as I think about the emails I haven't answered yet, the projects I haven't finished, the deadlines I keep pushing back. The stress of trying to stay on top of everything starts to feel like a part-time job itself, but the paychecks that come with it never seem to be enough. There's this constant pressure. The bills keep growing, rent, utilities, student loans, and yet my paycheck feels the same every month. No matter how many hours I work or how much extra I pick up, it's like the money vanishes the second it hits my account. Some days, it feels like I'm chasing my tail. Every time I think I'm getting ahead, another expense comes up. The car needs a new tire, or the doctor's office bills me for a visit I thought was covered by insurance. I don't even question it anymore, I just swipe my card and hope that I'll be able to cover the next thing when it comes. It's hard to explain to people who don't understand. They talk about their plans for vacations, the trips they want to take, the things they want to buy. I feel this tightness in my chest when I hear them. I can't even imagine being able to spend money on something frivolous. Even a new pair of shoes feels like a luxury at this point. But I smile and nod, because I don't want to be the person who brings the room down with my reality. It's easier to just say, yeah, maybe one day. But the truth is, it feels so far away that it almost doesn't seem real. I've stopped dreaming in the way I used to. I used to have plans, big plans. I thought by now, I'd have my own place, a career I loved, some savings stashed away, and maybe a little bit of freedom to do something spontaneous. Instead, I've got a cramped apartment with peeling walls, a job that feels like it's just enough to survive, and a bank account that reminds me daily of how much further I am from where I thought I'd be. It's like I'm trapped in a cycle where every decision is weighed against the consequences. I can't go out with friends because that's a night of spending money I don't have. I can't take a day off to recharge because I can't afford to miss a paycheck. It's exhausting, mentally and physically. Sometimes, I can't help but think about the system that's set up this way, how we're all expected to do more with less, constantly hustling just to stay in place. They say that if you work hard enough, things will get better, but I'm starting to wonder if that's just something people say to keep us going. Maybe they don't know how it feels to be doing everything right and still end up feeling like you're drowning. I sit down at my desk and open my laptop. The light from the screen feels harsh, too bright for my tired eyes. I'm staring at my to-do list, feeling overwhelmed before I even start. I've learned to be productive in short bursts, tackling whatever is most pressing, but the weight of everything else lingers. I keep telling myself that if I can just get through today, tomorrow will be easier. But it never is. The truth is, there are days when I feel completely defeated. When I open my bank account and see the balance, I can't help but feel like it's mocking me. The numbers don't change, no matter how hard I try, no matter how many hours I put in. It feels like I'm stuck in this loop of just surviving, not living. I try to distract myself. I watch TV shows or scroll through social media, seeing everyone else post their highlight reels, their vacations, and new purchases. It only makes the pressure worse. There are times when I wish I could just shut it all off, the constant reminder that everyone else seems to have it together while I'm still struggling to pay rent. But even on the hardest days, I try to find small moments of comfort. A cup of coffee, a phone call with a friend, a few minutes of quiet before I dive into the chaos. I've learned that sometimes, that's all I can do. I hold on to those moments, no matter how fleeting, because they remind me that even in the midst of this struggle, I'm still human. I'm still here, fighting through the pressure. And somehow, that counts for something. I've been postponing so much of my life. Dreams I had for myself, traveling, starting a business, getting out of this financial hole, feel like they're just that, dreams. Every time I think about the future, I wonder when things will finally get better. Will I ever be able to save enough to go on a vacation? Will I ever stop feeling like I'm running on empty? I try not to think too much about it because it just makes the feeling of being trapped even worse. But there's a part of me that holds on to a sliver of hope. Maybe things will change. Maybe I'll find a way out of this cycle. Maybe one day I'll be able to breathe without feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm not sure when that will happen, or how it will happen. But for now, I keep pushing forward, even when it feels like I'm barely keeping my head above water. Because that's all I can do. And sometimes, just moving forward is enough. I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating on the nightstand. It's 6:30 a.m., and I'm already dreading the day. Not because of the work ahead of me, but because of the constant pressure that follows me everywhere, like a shadow I can't escape. The bills that pile up in my email inbox, the rent I can barely afford, and the groceries that feel more like an indulgence than a necessity these days. It all feels like an unrelenting weight on my chest, suffocating any hope of ever feeling truly at ease. I roll over, swipe the screen, and see a reminder from my bank app that my rent payment is due in 3 days. I'm staring at it for a long time. The number is large. Larger than the last one. Every month it seems to go up by just a little bit. My salary doesn't go up. In fact, it's barely enough to cover what I need. The raises I've heard about seem to be for people in other departments, people who work longer hours and have more responsibilities. I can't afford to ask for a raise, not yet. I don't have the confidence for that. Maybe I should pick up a second job. But how? I'm already exhausted from the one I have. The truth is, I'm tired of feeling like I'm running in circles. I've been trying to stretch my paycheck for years, but no matter how tight I pull the strings, something always slips through. Last month, it was the car payment. This month, it's the student loan. It's just one thing after another. Some days I wonder if the economy is even designed for people like me to get ahead. It feels like every corner I turn, there's another obstacle. I get up and shuffle to the bathroom, the cold tile floor against my feet grounding me in the reality of it all. I brush my teeth, wash my face, and try to focus on getting ready for the day. But even the simplest tasks feel heavier now. The little things I used to enjoy, like having a cup of coffee in peace or listening to music while I get dressed, feel like luxuries I can't afford anymore. I scroll through my phone as I brush my hair. My friends are posting photos of vacations, new apartments, and nights out, things I can't even think about right now. I'm happy for them, but it's hard to ignore that I'm stuck in a different reality. By the time I leave my apartment, the world feels like it's spinning in a way that I can't keep up with. The cost of living is climbing every day, and I'm here trying to hold on to the last shred of balance. I put on my best smile as I walk into the office, but it's becoming harder and harder to keep up the facade. People don't know the truth, and sometimes I wonder if I even know it myself. I've spent so much time pretending I'm okay that I'm not sure who I am beneath it all. At work, the pressure doesn't stop. There's the constant fear of being replaced, the worry that I'm not doing enough, the recognition that others are more successful or well-connected. Every meeting feels like a reminder of how much further I have to go to even be considered successful. And all the while, my bank account balance hovers at the edge of panic, like an unwanted guest I can't shake. The cost of living continues to outpace any salary I'll ever make. I've had to cut back on almost everything. The gym membership I used to love? Gone. Streaming services? Unsubscribed. I eat ramen for dinner, more often than I'd like to admit. Sometimes, I sit at my desk and stare at the numbers on the spreadsheet in front of me, wondering what the point of it all is. I've worked so hard to get here, to get somewhere, but it feels like I'm stuck. If I even think about putting money into savings, I start to feel anxious, like I'm neglecting something more immediate. If I save for the future, I risk not making it through today. So I make small compromises. I'll skip lunch out with my coworkers this week, or I'll wait to buy new clothes until the ones I have are literally falling apart. Everything is about cutting corners and finding ways to survive. But then there are the moments when it feels like I'm drowning. The bills keep coming, the debt keeps growing, and I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water. Sometimes I get angry about it, but mostly I feel defeated. It's the same every month, the same struggle to make ends meet, the same sinking feeling when I realize I've made another payment, but the balance still feels just as insurmountable as before. On weekends, when I have a bit of free time, I escape into fantasies. I think about the life I've been putting off, the things I wanted to do but can't. I wanted to travel, to see new places, to spend time with people I love without worrying about the time or the cost. I dreamed of having an apartment that felt like mine, a space where I could truly relax, not just survive. But instead, I'm in a tiny studio, and every corner of it is filled with reminders that I'm still not where I want to be. I try to tell myself it's temporary. I try to tell myself that I'm building something. But the longer I go without seeing the payoff, the harder it is to keep that belief alive. I sometimes think about how I was raised, how my parents worked hard their whole lives and still barely got by. They told me to save, to plan, to avoid debt. But I don't think they ever anticipated this world where everything feels like it's out of reach. They never told me what to do when the economy is stacked against you, when the rent is too high, when the wages are too low, when you can't even imagine a future that looks different from this. The advice they gave me feels outdated now. I want to believe that hard work equals success, but right now, I'm struggling to see the connection. Some nights, when I'm lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I let myself dream. I dream of having enough to take a break, to step away from the grind and breathe for a while. I imagine what it would be like to not have to constantly think about how to make ends meet. But then the weight of reality always drags me back. I need to get up tomorrow and do it all over again. And the cycle continues. I don't know when things will get better. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But every day feels like I'm one step closer to breaking. I try to remind myself that it's okay to feel like this, that it's okay to be struggling. But it's hard when everyone else seems to have it together. It's hard when the world around me feels like it's moving at a pace I can't keep up with. I guess that's the hardest part of it all, the feeling of being trapped in a system that doesn't seem to care about people like me. I've worked hard, I've sacrificed, and I'm still barely treading water. The future I dreamed of is just out of reach, and I'm not sure how long I can hold on before it slips away completely. I wake up to the same soft buzz of my phone alarm, the light spilling through the half-open blinds, casting shadows on the walls of my small apartment. It's not much, but it's home. Some days, I still can't believe I'm here. Living on my own, trying to make it in the world, balancing the bills, the rent, and everything in between. And then there's the constant weight, finances, or rather the lack of them. It's funny, though, because I don't think it was ever supposed to feel like this. I thought things would be different. I thought I'd have my life together by now. But now, every day is a battle to keep up, to stay afloat in a world where the tide just keeps rising faster than I can swim. I've always been a hard worker, but lately, it feels like my paycheck is barely enough to cover the basics. Rent, utilities, groceries, and then, if there's anything left over, the lingering credit card bills that never seem to go down. Sometimes, I look at my bank account and wonder how I got here. How did I end up in this place where every decision feels like it's based on survival, rather than choice? I pull on my jeans and a worn-out t-shirt, the same ones I wore yesterday. Maybe the day before. It doesn't matter. I don't have time to think about what I'm wearing. There's a tighter squeeze in my chest about whether I have enough gas to make it through the week, or whether I should skip the grocery store trip and stretch my last few cans of beans a little longer. I've gotten good at this, adjusting, making do. The mental gymnastics I play each morning, figuring out which bills to pay first, how much I can set aside for food, how much I can save for emergencies, though, who am I kidding? Emergencies are never part of the plan anymore. But that's the thing no one ever tells you about being young and out here on your own, the constant, gnawing pressure. It doesn't matter if you have a degree, or if you're working overtime, or if you try to follow all the right steps. The system is rigged. Every day, it feels like expenses keep growing faster than my income. I get these glimpses into what normal people seem to have, friends posting photos from their vacations, buying new clothes, or talking about plans to move into a bigger place. And I can't help but feel this sense of failure creeping in. I know they're not posting about their struggles, just like I don't, but still, it's hard to escape the feeling that everyone else has figured it out but me. My friends don't understand when I say I can't go out to eat because I'm broke, or when I skip on group plans because I can't afford the gas or the extra expenses. They don't understand why I don't buy the things I want or why I never seem to be able to treat myself. They tell me I'll get there, that I just need to be patient, but patience doesn't seem to solve much when the bills keep stacking up. I've tried budgeting, tried finding ways to cut back, but every time I think I've got a handle on it, something else comes along, an unexpected medical bill, an increase in rent, a broken appliance that needs fixing. And it's exhausting. Emotionally exhausting. There are days when I wake up and feel like I've already lost before the day even starts. When the pressure hits, it feels like a crushing weight on my chest, this constant worry about how I'm going to make it through the next month. I've had panic attacks before, where the thought of opening my bank account sends my heart racing, knowing that there's no room for mistakes, no cushion to fall back on. I've learned to get used to the anxiety, though. In a strange way, it becomes a part of my routine. I wake up, I brace myself, and I push through. But some days, it just feels too heavy. I look at my friends, my peers, and see them moving ahead, buying houses, starting families, living their lives as though this financial pressure isn't following them, too. And maybe it isn't. Maybe they've found a way to hide it better. But for me, the constant worry is always there, like a shadow. It's not just about the money, though. It's about the things I've had to give up. I wanted to travel, see the world, go on spontaneous road trips and take long weekends away. I wanted to take risks, explore new opportunities, maybe even start a business one day. But those dreams are locked away in some box, gathering dust. It's hard to even entertain the thought of something bigger when every day feels like a fight to keep from sinking. I remember when I used to think about the future with excitement, the kind of future where you could take a leap of faith and know you'd land on your feet. Now, I think about it with dread. I wonder if things will ever change or if I'm just destined to keep treading water, forever stuck in this cycle of paycheck-to-paycheck survival. The worst part is how it affects everything else, my emotional well-being, my relationships, my sense of self-worth. I feel like I've lost parts of who I am, like the person I used to be is somewhere in the distance, slipping further away each day. When you're constantly worried about money, it becomes all-consuming. It affects your confidence, your happiness. I don't feel proud of where I am, but I also don't feel like I have the energy to change anything. I try to stay hopeful, though. I think about the future, what I could do if I ever broke free of this. I imagine getting a job that pays better, where I don't have to live in fear of missing a payment or falling behind. I dream of someday owning a home, of feeling like I've actually made it. But then reality hits, and I remember how far away that dream feels, how much I'd have to do just to get close. Some days, I just try to take it one step at a time. I tell myself it's okay not to have it all figured out yet, but then the guilt creeps in. It feels like the clock is ticking, and I'm falling behind. I keep pushing, though. I have to. Because what's the alternative? Giving up isn't an option. I think of my family, my friends, the people who've supported me, and I know I have to keep going. Even when it feels like I'm losing. So, I keep going. I cut back here, I work harder there. I take on side gigs, I try to find moments of joy when I can. I celebrate the small victories, getting through the day without a breakdown, saving a little bit for the future, making it through the week without getting a late fee on a bill. These are my victories now. But deep down, I know I'm still stuck in the system, trapped in a cycle where the cost of living keeps rising, and I can't quite keep up. I tell myself it's temporary, that things will get better eventually, but every day feels like a reminder that the world wasn't built for people like me. It wasn't built for the ones who are constantly struggling to stay above water. And I wonder, when will it get easier? When will I be able to breathe again? But for now, I'll keep treading water, hoping that someday, somehow, the tide will turn in my favor. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. The pressure is always there, like a heavy weight pressing down on my chest, even when I try to take a deep breath. I wake up to it every morning and carry it with me all day. It's the reality of being young and trying to make a life for yourself in a world where it feels like the rules keep changing, and the stakes keep getting higher. I try not to complain, but the truth is, it's hard not to feel suffocated. I don't even know where it started, really. Maybe it was the moment I realized that working full-time still wasn't enough. Or when I had to choose between paying rent and buying groceries for the week. Or maybe it was that first bill after I moved out, that sinking feeling when I saw the balance on my credit card. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. I stopped feeling like I had any kind of control over my life, and that feeling has only grown over time. When I think about it, it feels like everything's always growing faster than I can keep up. Rent goes up every year, my student loans aren't going anywhere, and then there are the little things, the unexpected expenses that show up without warning. The tire that needs replacing, the trip to the doctor, or even the extra charge on my utilities bill that I never saw coming. Every time I think I'm getting ahead, something comes along to knock me back. It's like this treadmill I'm on, constantly running but never really moving forward. I hate how much my financial situation dictates my choices, how I've had to alter my daily life just to scrape by. It's small things at first, like how I stopped buying coffee on my way to work. I used to love that ritual, but now it's just one more luxury I can't afford. So I make coffee at home, in the cheapest mug I could find at a thrift store, and I take it with me in a thermos. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But it's these tiny, steady sacrifices that pile up and start to eat away at you. Then there's food. I've gotten so good at meal planning on a budget, but sometimes I just can't help but feel exhausted by it. It's not even about eating healthy anymore, it's about survival. I buy frozen vegetables because they're cheaper, even though I know they don't taste as good. I buy rice and beans because they stretch further than anything else. I can't tell you the last time I went out to eat. It's not even a choice anymore, it's just not possible. I feel this gnawing disappointment in the back of my mind when I see friends posting photos of their meals, sharing stories about their vacations, living their lives while I'm over here trying to figure out if I can afford the next round of bills. And then there's my emotional state, which is hard to explain. I go through the motions each day, but there's this constant low-level anxiety, this buzzing feeling that I can't quite shake. I've always been the kind of person who wanted to have it together, to be someone who could handle everything life threw at them without losing their cool. But the truth is, I feel like I'm unraveling a little bit at a time. Every day that I worry about how I'll make rent or if I'll ever be able to save anything, I feel like I'm a little further from the person I thought I'd be by now. There's also this feeling of being trapped. It's not just the bills and the looming debt, it's the realization that I'm stuck in a system where the more I work, the harder it feels to get ahead. My job, the one I went to college for, doesn't pay nearly enough to cover the cost of living, and the idea of moving back home is so far beyond embarrassing, I can't even consider it. So I keep working, keep trying to squeeze every last penny out of what I make. But no matter how hard I work, no matter how many hours I clock in, the expenses keep growing, and my income just doesn't keep pace. I used to dream a lot. I had these grand visions of my future, of having a place of my own, of traveling, of doing work that actually felt meaningful. But it feels like those dreams are slipping away with each passing month. I've had to put everything on hold, to adjust my expectations downward. The thought of having a career feels so far off now, like something that belongs to people who had it all figured out, who had the right connections, or the right break. For me, it feels like I'm just trying to get by, and anything beyond that is a luxury. And there's the guilt of not being where I thought I'd be at this age. Everyone around me seems to be doing better. They talk about their new apartments, their vacations, their jobs that offer perks I didn't even know existed. It's hard not to feel like I'm failing. But the worst part is that I can't even blame anyone but myself. It's like I've been given this map of how life is supposed to go, and somewhere along the way, I must have taken a wrong turn. Everyone says things will get better, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but every day it feels further and further away. There are moments, though, when I remind myself that I'm not alone in this. I have to remind myself that it's not just me, that this is a struggle so many people my age are facing. We've all been told the same story: go to college, get a good job, work hard, and everything will fall into place. But it hasn't worked out that way for most of us. We're the generation of side hustles, of multiple jobs, of freelancing, and piecing together a life from whatever we can find. And even though that's supposed to be empowering, it often feels like scrambling. It feels like we're all just trying to survive, rather than live. I try to hold on to hope. I try to think that someday things will be better, that maybe one day I'll get a break. Maybe I'll land a job that pays what I'm worth, or maybe the housing market will stabilize, or maybe I'll finally be able to save enough to take a trip. But those dreams feel distant now, something I have to hold on to even though they seem like they might be too far out of reach. It's hard not to give up sometimes, to not throw in the towel and just accept that this is what my life will be. But I keep going, day after day. I remind myself that even if it's hard, even if it feels like I'm stuck, I'm still here. I'm still fighting. And maybe that's all I can do for now: keep my head above water, take things one step at a time, and hold on to the idea that somewhere, somehow, things will get better. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But one day, hopefully. Until then, I keep pushing forward, as best as I can. I think about the future a lot, even though it feels uncertain. I've postponed so many of my dreams, but I haven't abandoned them. Not entirely. I want to get back to a place where I can breathe again, where I don't feel so constantly afraid of what's coming next. I'm working towards that, even if it feels like the finish line keeps moving. I just hope I can get there before I completely lose myself to the pressure. The first thing I do when I wake up is check my bank account. I know it's going to be a bad number, but I still have to do it. Maybe, just maybe, there'll be a little more than I expected. Maybe I'll have the tiniest bit of relief. But today, like most days, it's a harsh reminder: I'm barely scraping by. I'm 26 years old. I graduated college 4 years ago, full of hopes and dreams. They told me getting a degree would unlock all these doors, that I'd finally be able to get a job that would pay me enough to live comfortably. I remember feeling so proud when I crossed the stage at graduation, thinking about the future, about a career, a house, a life where I wasn't counting every penny. But somehow, despite all the effort, the sacrifice, and the hard work, I'm still here. And it's nothing like I imagined. I work as a marketing assistant at a small company. It's a good job, but the pay doesn't reflect the work I do. It's like I'm always one step behind. Every month, my salary is just enough to cover rent, utilities, groceries, and the absolute bare essentials. But anything beyond that? Forget it. No extra for savings, no cushion for emergencies, and definitely no money to do anything fun. The pressure is constant. Rent takes up more than half my paycheck, and that's the cheapest I could find. I live in a tiny apartment in a neighborhood that's seen better days. The landlord is kind enough, but I can feel the walls closing in every time I step into the place. I try to make it feel like home, but it's hard to enjoy your space when the very act of living there feels like an endless financial burden. When I first moved in, I tried to imagine how this would be my little sanctuary, a place I could relax and enjoy. Now it just feels like a pit that swallows money, a constant reminder that I'm just trying to survive, not thrive. The cost of living keeps climbing. Groceries are more expensive every time I go to the store. I used to enjoy cooking, experimenting with new recipes, but now it's more about stretching what little I have into something that'll keep me full. I've learned to eat the same meals over and over again, always buying in bulk, always looking for sales. I'll grab a bag of rice, some frozen vegetables, and whatever's on sale, and that'll be dinner for the week. Maybe it's not glamorous, but it's cheap. It's also exhausting. But the worst part? The constant worry. Every decision, no matter how small, feels like it's being scrutinized by the invisible weight of my finances. Do I get takeout for dinner tonight, or do I make a quick pasta dish with what's in the cupboard? Do I buy that shirt I've been eyeing, or do I ignore the urge and save what's left in my checking account for a gas tank refill? Every dollar feels like it has to be stretched, divided, and calculated. It's a math problem I can never quite solve. And then there's the student loan payment. Every month it's the same story. I pay the minimum, barely making a dent in the total. I have a degree, but it feels more like a ball and chain than an opportunity. Every time I make that payment, I feel like I'm not just paying down debt, I'm paying for a future that feels increasingly out of reach. I've considered deferring the loan, but then the interest piles up, and it's a never-ending cycle. Some days, I feel like I'm just treading water. The worst part is knowing that the cost of living keeps going up, but my salary stays the same. Every year, rent increases. Grocery prices rise. Gas prices spike. But my paycheck? It doesn't budge. It's like I'm stuck in this endless loop, running in place, trying to keep my head above water. Some days, I wonder if it's even worth it. Is this what adulthood is supposed to be like? The constant grind, the constant worry? I've had to postpone so many dreams. When I was younger, I used to dream of traveling the world. I wanted to see Paris, Tokyo, Rome, cities that seemed so far out of reach when I was a kid. Now, the idea of a vacation seems laughable. There's no extra for anything like that. My friends talk about trips they've taken, adventures they've had, and I try to smile and act happy for them, but inside I'm filled with envy. How are they doing it? How are they able to afford these experiences while I'm just trying to make sure I have enough to eat and pay my rent? I used to dream about owning a home. I imagined a little house with a garden, a place that was mine. But now, that dream feels so far out of reach. I can't even afford to rent a decent apartment without going into debt. The thought of buying a house is almost laughable. Every month, I barely make it to the end with my current living situation. How could I ever get ahead? And then there's the weight of living paycheck to paycheck. It's not just about money, it's about everything else. The stress, the anxiety, the constant feeling of being behind. It's hard to think about the future when you're just trying to survive the present. Sometimes I lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer I can keep this up. I know I should be doing more to save, to build wealth, but it feels like I'm too far behind already. How can I catch up when the gap keeps widening? But I cope. I have to. I've learned to take small moments of joy where I can find them. I watch free shows on Netflix, go for walks in the park, and spend time with friends who understand what it's like to struggle. I remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. I keep going, even when it feels like the world is working against me. I keep hoping that someday, I'll be able to break free from this cycle. Some days, I find peace in the small victories, getting through a week without a financial crisis, finally saving up enough to buy a new pair of shoes without using a credit card, or simply making it through a month without feeling like I'm drowning. I've learned to celebrate these moments, because in this economy, that's what survival looks like. It's a little less about thriving and a lot more about hanging on. So, I keep going. I keep working, keep budgeting, keep trying. I try not to look too far ahead, because right now, the future feels too uncertain. Instead, I focus on today. I get through today. I make it to tomorrow. And maybe, just maybe, if I keep going long enough, I'll be able to look back and see how far I've come. But for now, I survive. And sometimes, that's all I can do. I wake up every morning with a pit in my stomach. The kind of anxiety that sits heavy, like a stone lodged in my chest. The kind that doesn't go away, even after I've had my coffee, even after I've gotten dressed and walked out the door. It's not that anything catastrophic has happened. It's just the weight of everything, the bills, the constant worry, the feeling that I'm not moving forward. I'm 24. I have a job, a place to live, and a decent education. I should be okay. That's what they told me: go to school, get a degree, work hard, and the rest will fall into place. But no one told me that, even with all that, the system isn't set up for people like me. People who are just trying to get by. The system doesn't leave room for people like me. It wasn't designed for young adults with student debt, rising rent, and stagnant wages. And no one told me how exhausting it would be to feel like I'm running just to stay in the same place. I work as an entry-level marketing assistant. It's not a bad job, but it doesn't exactly pay well. I make $42,000 a year before taxes. I used to think that was decent, but when I actually look at my paycheck and calculate everything, rent, utilities, student loan payments, car insurance, it's like I'm always running out of room. I live with a roommate in a cramped apartment because, frankly, there's no way I could afford to live alone. Rent is $1,200 a month, and even though I split it with her, it still feels like a lot. Then there are the utilities, which keep creeping up as energy costs rise. My car isn't new, and every time something breaks, I have to scramble to figure out how to pay for it. It's like I'm trapped in a system where the numbers never add up. I do the math in my head every day. I check my account, make sure the bills have cleared, and then figure out how I'm going to buy food for the week. It's not like I'm splurging on fancy things. I don't eat out much, I barely go out with friends, and I've been wearing the same few outfits for months. But still, every week, I find myself wondering how the hell I'm going to make it to payday without overdrawing my account. I've stopped saving for the future, stopped thinking about things like retirement or buying a house. I can't afford to think about that right now. Right now, all I can focus on is staying afloat. Some days, I feel like I'm drowning. I don't know when it started, the constant feeling of panic. Maybe it was when rent started going up and I found myself struggling just to make ends meet. Maybe it was when my student loans started piling up and I realized I was only paying the interest. Or maybe it was when I started hearing about the Great Resignation and how so many people were walking away from their jobs, and I couldn't even afford to take a single day off. I don't know. But somewhere along the way, the dream of being financially secure just disappeared. I don't know how to get there anymore. The goalposts keep moving, and no matter how hard I try, I can't catch up. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, at least, that's what I tell myself. I have a job. I have a roof over my head. I'm not homeless. But some days, it feels like I'm living on the edge. I can't afford an emergency. If something happened, if I lost my job or my car broke down, I'd be screwed. And the worst part is, I feel like I can't talk to anyone about it. My friends, they're struggling too. I don't want to burden them with my problems when I know they're in the same boat. So, I keep quiet. I smile when people ask how I'm doing. I pretend that everything's fine, even when it feels like it's not. And I think that's the hardest part, the feeling that I'm alone in this. I see people on social media buying houses, going on vacations, living lives I can't even imagine, and it makes me feel like I'm failing. I'm doing everything I can. I work hard. I try to budget. I try to save. But it's never enough. The gap between what I have and what I want keeps growing, and I don't know how to close it. It's not just about the money. It's the emotional toll, too. The constant pressure to keep up, to never let anyone see how hard I'm struggling. I've learned to put on a mask, smiling, pretending, lying to myself and others about how fine I am. But inside, I'm exhausted. I'm tired of always being on edge. Tired of always having to explain why I can't do something or why I can't go out. Tired of being the one who cancels plans because I don't have the money to spend on things I used to enjoy. I try to distract myself when I get overwhelmed. I binge-watch shows to escape, scroll endlessly through my phone, and tell myself that tomorrow will be different. But I know it won't be. Tomorrow will come, and I'll check my bank account again. I'll do the math again. And I'll still be stuck. It feels like there's no way out. The worst part is that I've had to give up on dreams. The things I used to care about feel so out of reach now. I used to want to travel, to see the world. Now, I can barely afford a weekend getaway. I used to want to go back to school and get my master's degree, but that feels impossible with the mountain of student debt I already have. I used to think I'd own a house by now. But that dream seems so far away, it might as well be on another planet. I've tried to push all these dreams aside, to focus on the here and now. But some days, it feels like I buried them so deep, I don't even know what's left of them. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can, that this struggle is temporary, that things will get better someday. But right now, it doesn't feel like they will. I've started to wonder if maybe this is just how life is now, endless cycles of financial strain, endless pressure to keep pushing forward without ever feeling like I'm getting anywhere. I don't know if it's the economy or the system or just the way life is now, but it feels like I'm caught in a current I can't swim out of. The waves keep crashing over me, and I keep treading water, hoping for the best, but afraid I'll drown if I stop. I just want to breathe. I want to not feel like I'm always on the edge. I want to look at my bank account and not feel a panic rising in my chest. I want to feel like I'm building something for the future, instead of just surviving. But for now, I keep going. I keep working. I keep hoping that somehow, some way, things will get better. And I hold on to the idea that maybe, one day, I'll be able to look back at this chapter and see how I made it through. Because right now, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. But somehow, I will. I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating. The alarm was set for 7 a.m., but it's already 8:30, and I'm late again. My mind is already scrambling, calculating whether I can still make it to work on time, whether I can make up the hours I've missed, and most importantly, whether I can stretch my paycheck to cover everything this month. I'm not sure how it's happened, but somehow, I feel like I'm always playing catch-up, always behind. It's like my whole life is one long sprint, but no matter how fast I run, the finish line keeps moving farther away. I roll out of bed, my joints stiff from sleeping on the cheap mattress I've had since college. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I remember thinking that by now I'd have my own place, maybe even a small apartment with a decent view. I thought that after graduating and landing this job, things would smooth out. But they haven't. They never do. I get dressed quickly, business casual, but nothing that looks too nice. I can't afford to wear clothes that are too expensive. No need to draw attention to the fact that I'm scraping by. I throw some instant oatmeal into the microwave, not because I like it, but because it's quick and cheap. There's a moment, just before I take that first bite, when I wonder if I'll ever get to a point where I can stop making these compromises. I feel a knot in my stomach as I think about how my rent is due next week, how I haven't paid off my credit card bill, and how my student loan balance is creeping higher with every passing month. It's not even that I'm bad with money. I'm actually pretty careful. I track my spending, I cut back on things like takeout and entertainment, I use coupons when I can. But no matter what I do, it feels like I'm always a step behind the curve. Rent goes up every year, my phone bill increases without warning, and even basic groceries are more expensive than they used to be. It's like the world is conspiring to keep me in this endless loop of stress and uncertainty. I get to work just as my boss is walking in, and she gives me a look that says I'm already on thin ice. "You need to be more punctual," she says, though there's no warmth in her voice. I don't respond. What can I say? I'm doing my best, but my best feels like it's never enough. I sit down at my desk, trying to focus, but the financial pressure presses on me like a weight, heavy and suffocating. Every email I send, every task I complete, feels like I'm just marking time, going through the motions without actually getting anywhere. By lunchtime, my stomach is growling. I open my wallet and look at the few crumpled bills I have left. It's not enough to grab anything from the cafe downstairs, so I settle for the leftover half of the sandwich I brought from home. As I eat, I think about how I used to love eating out with friends, how I used to save up for trips or little luxuries. Now, everything revolves around survival. The things I once enjoyed, those simple pleasures, feel like distant memories. I wonder if I'll ever feel secure enough to enjoy something just for the sake of enjoyment. I can feel the anxiety creeping in again, that tightness in my chest that's become all too familiar. It's the feeling of knowing that no matter how hard I work, no matter how much I sacrifice, it might never be enough to get ahead. It's the gnawing sense of being trapped in a system that rewards the lucky and punishes the rest of us. I'm stuck, not just because of the economy, but because of the way everything is structured, how rent is more than half of my monthly paycheck, how gas prices keep going up, how even the smallest unexpected expense can send everything into a tailspin. I know I'm not the only one feeling this way. I see it in the faces of my friends, in the stories people post online, in the quiet frustration that seems to hang over everything. But that doesn't make it any easier to bear. At the end of the workday, I drag myself home. The apartment is quiet, too quiet, and I feel a pang of loneliness that hits me harder than it should. I've been living here for over a year now, in a place that's too small for me but that I can afford. I can't help but feel disappointed in myself sometimes. This wasn't the dream I had when I first moved out of my parents' house. I imagined more freedom, more comfort, more joy. Instead, I've got bills that never stop coming, a job that doesn't fulfill me, and a sense of isolation that I'm not sure how to shake. I log into my bank account and see that I'm barely scraping by. The numbers in red stare back at me, and for a moment, I feel like I'm drowning. I remind myself that this is temporary. At least, I hope it is. But that hope starts to feel more like a fragile thread, something that's being pulled thinner every day. It's hard to believe in a future where things get better when every day feels like a battle just to keep afloat. I've stopped making big plans for myself. It's easier to just keep my head down and focus on getting through the week, the month, the year. Every dream I had, traveling, starting a family, owning my own business, feels out of reach, locked away in a part of my mind I don't dare visit too often. Sometimes, I think I've given up on them altogether. I tell myself that I'll push through. I'll keep working, keep scrimping, keep saving. I'll get that raise eventually, or maybe I'll find a better job. I'll get out of this rut, just like everyone says I will. But there's a fear that gnaws at me, a fear that this is as good as it's ever going to get. That no matter how hard I try, no matter how many hours I work, I'll always be living paycheck to paycheck, stuck in this never-ending grind. But for now, I keep going. Because what else can I do? I know I'm not alone in this, but that doesn't make it easier. I just hope that one day, I'll wake up and find that all the sacrifices, all the sleepless nights, all the stress, will have been worth it. That one day, I'll be able to look back and see that I didn't just survive, I thrived. But for now, all I can do is hold on, do my best, and try to remind myself that it's okay to feel tired, to feel scared, to feel lost. I just have to keep going. I wake up to the sound of my alarm ringing, the same way I do every day. It's 6:30 a.m., but I feel like I haven't slept at all. It's not because I didn't try, but because I spent half the night calculating bills in my head. How many hours I need to work, how much I need to save, what I can afford to buy. It's the same cycle I've been stuck in for months now, and the thought of it is exhausting. I roll out of bed and immediately check my phone. The notification banner is full of reminders from my bank. Your balance is low. Your next payment is due in 2 days. My heart sinks. I have about $150 to my name, and that's after I've already transferred most of what I had into savings, just to keep my head above water for another month. It's never enough. I'm never ahead. I'm just managing. I make my coffee in silence, the sharp bitterness of the brew filling the emptiness in my chest. It's a habit now, to drink something strong in the morning to make me feel awake, even when my mind feels like it's been running on autopilot for too long. I think about my friends. They're doing well, or at least, that's what I tell myself when I see their posts on social media, traveling, buying things, going out to eat at restaurants I can't afford. I can't even remember the last time I treated myself to something like that. A part of me resents them, but it's not their fault. It's just, I feel like I'm in a race that I can't win. After coffee, I get dressed, carefully picking out clothes that are still in decent condition. I've had to cut back on shopping, hell, I haven't bought anything new for myself in months. My wardrobe is starting to feel like a patchwork of old clothes that don't quite fit right anymore. Still, it's enough to get me through the day. It's the bare minimum. I leave the house and walk to the bus stop, which feels like its own kind of defeat. I used to have a car, but I had to sell it to cover rent a few months ago. Public transit is fine, but it feels like an additional reminder that I'm not getting where I want to go. It's also just one more thing I have to calculate into my budget, $3.50 each way, $7 a day, $35 a week. If I can't save on transportation, then maybe I can save on lunch. That's usually the compromise I make. I either bring a sandwich and avoid buying food, or sometimes splurge on a $5 salad from a cafe, but only if I'm feeling particularly desperate for something fresh. The financial strain has seeped into everything, even my relationships. It's hard to explain to people who don't understand. They say things like, just go get a better job, or why don't you just move to a cheaper place? Like it's that simple. But it's not. My job doesn't pay much, and I've looked for something else. Nothing that would pay enough to make a significant difference. And the cost of living in the city, forget it. If I leave, I'll lose everything I've worked for. So I stay, sinking deeper. I go through the motions of the day. Meetings, deadlines, endless emails. I can't focus anymore. Every conversation is a distraction from the financial anxiety that lurks in the back of my mind. When someone asks how I'm doing, I always say fine, because it's easier than admitting the truth. I'm not fine. I'm drowning, but nobody can see it. At the end of the day, I do the math again, checking my balance, calculating my expenses for the month, figuring out if I can stretch my remaining money to cover the bills. I don't allow myself to think too far ahead, because the future feels so far out of reach. All I want is to get through this week. If I can make it to next Friday without something breaking, or a surprise expense coming up, I'll call it a small victory. But I know, deep down, that things aren't going to get better. Not anytime soon. The rent's going up again in 2 months. The cost of groceries keeps rising. My student loans are still there, looming over me like a shadow I can't escape. And I feel so damn small, like a speck in a system that's designed to leave people like me behind. I have no family I can rely on for help, no cushion to fall back on when things go wrong. It's just me, stuck in this cycle. I try to stay hopeful. I keep telling myself that I'm working hard and that things will turn around eventually. But I'm not sure I believe it anymore. I've dreamed of having a place of my own, of traveling, of being able to buy something without worrying if I can afford it. I've dreamed of a life where I can breathe without feeling the weight of constant financial stress. But those dreams feel further away every day. It's hard not to feel bitter about it. I try not to, but it's there, gnawing at me. My friends don't have to worry about paying bills with the money they make. They don't stress about how much they can put into savings when the rent eats up half their paycheck. They don't have to say no to plans because they can't afford it. They don't feel the shame of putting things on credit, knowing they'll be paying it off for years. I guess what really hurts the most is that I don't feel like I'm building anything. It's not just about money, it's about time. I feel like I'm losing my 20s to this relentless grind, and every day feels like a race I can't win. I can't even remember the last time I had a weekend to myself where I wasn't either working or stressed out about work. There's a part of me that wants to give up. Just stop trying. But I don't know how to stop. So, I keep going. I keep calculating, saving what I can, making it through each day, trying not to break down in front of people. I tell myself that someday, it will get better. I tell myself that eventually, the hard work will pay off. But sometimes, I wonder if that's just a lie I'm telling myself to make it through another day. Maybe I'm just stuck. Maybe that's all there is to it, just surviving, just getting through, just keeping my head above water. Maybe that's the reality for people like me. But there's still a tiny flicker inside me, a spark that refuses to go out, even though it's buried beneath the weight of everything. A tiny hope that somehow, against all odds, things will change. It's all I have left. I wake up with a familiar sense of dread that settles in my stomach. It's not just the sound of the alarm, though that's part of it. It's the thought that creeps into my mind immediately: how much is left in my bank account today? I roll over, grab my phone, and swipe through the notifications. I don't want to know, but I have to. I have to keep track of everything, even if it hurts. The number stares back at me, cold and indifferent. After rent, which is due in a few days, I have just enough to scrape by for the next week. Barely. The groceries I need, the gas I have to buy, the utilities that will be coming soon, all of it feels so much bigger than the paycheck I'm living on. It's like I'm trying to run up a steep hill with weights strapped to my legs, and every step feels like it takes twice as much effort as the last. I'm 24 years old. My friends are posting their vacations, new jobs, engagement photos, and housewarming parties on social media, but I can barely keep my head above water. I don't have the luxury of planning my next trip or celebrating the milestones that should feel like they're in reach. Instead, I spend every day focused on the next bill, the next emergency. A car repair, a broken phone, an unexpected medical expense. It all feels like things keep breaking just as I'm starting to feel like I'm getting somewhere. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I graduated from college a couple of years ago with big dreams, a shiny degree, and the belief that if I worked hard enough, I could create the life I wanted. But all the hard work hasn't paid off the way I thought it would. The job I found after graduating wasn't in my field, but it was supposed to be a stepping stone, a way to gain experience and move up. But every year, the cost of living grows, while my salary stays the same. It's frustrating. I watch the news, and they keep talking about how the economy is improving. But I don't feel it. The world around me gets more expensive, and it's like I'm stuck in quicksand. The rent keeps climbing. Groceries cost more every week. And the student loan payments? They're just a reminder of how far away the future feels. No matter how much I pay, the balance barely budges. Each day is a tightrope walk. Should I take the bus, or can I make it through the week with the gas in my car? Can I afford to eat out with friends, or do I tell them I'm too tired to go? I don't want to be the person who always says no, but it's hard to keep up with people who seem to have it all together when I'm just trying to make it through the day. It's hard to feel like I belong when it feels like everyone else is moving ahead, and I'm stuck in place. The worst part is how often I feel invisible. Like no one really sees how hard I'm working, how much I'm trying just to get by. I've learned to be good at pretending. When people ask how I'm doing, I say I'm fine, even though that's far from the truth. I smile, I laugh, I nod, but inside, there's this gnawing anxiety that follows me wherever I go. The shame of not having enough. Of not being able to keep up. It's exhausting. I try not to let it consume me, but sometimes it's hard not to. Sometimes, I lie in bed at night and feel like the walls are closing in. I wonder how much longer I can keep pretending. How much longer I can keep pushing. Some days, I think I'm going to crack under the pressure. And the worst part is that I don't know how to fix it. I've had to put so many of my dreams on hold. I used to talk about traveling, how I wanted to go to Europe, to see the world. Now, the idea of saving enough for a weekend getaway feels laughable. I used to talk about buying a home someday, but now, I can't even imagine how that would be possible. The dream of a house feels more distant with each passing month, as I pour my money into rent that I'll never see again. I used to dream about going back to school to get a master's degree, but that would mean taking on even more debt, and I'm already drowning in student loans. I feel like I'm stuck in a system where nothing is designed to help me get ahead. The rich get richer, and people like me, people who are just trying to do the right thing, get stuck. The safety net I thought I had isn't there. It's like the ladder I was supposed to climb is broken, and I can't reach anything higher, no matter how hard I try. Some days, I wake up and wonder how I got here. I think back to all those hours spent studying for tests, all the late nights working my part-time job in college. I thought that if I just put in the work, it would pay off. But no one warned me that the system was rigged this way, that it would be a fight just to stay afloat. But I try to keep going. I keep budgeting, cutting corners, finding ways to stretch what little I have. I've stopped buying clothes, stopped going out unless it's absolutely free. I've learned to make do with what I have, even if it means wearing the same pair of shoes until the soles start to come off. I've learned to be frugal, but the sacrifices don't make me feel smart or accomplished, they make me feel small. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone. That there are millions of other young adults who are in the same boat, who are just as tired, just as frustrated. I try to find comfort in the idea that this is just a season, that one day, things will get better. But on the hardest days, it feels impossible to see that far ahead. I tell myself that maybe I just need to keep pushing. That if I keep going, eventually something will change. Maybe I'll get a better job. Maybe I'll pay down some debt. Maybe I'll finally feel like I'm moving forward instead of running in place. But for now, I just keep going. I survive. It's not the life I dreamed of, but it's the life I have. And sometimes, surviving is enough. Even when it feels like everything else is slipping away, I keep breathing. I keep moving. I keep hoping that one day, I'll look back and see that all this struggle led to something better. For now, I just need to get through today. I wake up each morning to the same overwhelming feeling, the crushing weight of money, or more accurately, the lack of it. It's not like anything major happens every day, but it feels like I'm constantly stuck in a loop where I'm always scrambling to cover one bill while another quietly adds itself to the list. Some days, it's like the weight is so heavy that I can't breathe. Other days, I just exist in a state of numbness, knowing full well that the next paycheck won't be enough to make things right. I'm not even sure what making things right would look like anymore. I'm 25. I graduated a couple of years ago with a degree in communications, a field that I thought would open doors to exciting opportunities. I landed a job in a marketing firm right after college, with decent pay, or at least that's what I thought at first. At $42,000 a year, it seemed like enough. That was until I started living in a world where everything costs more than it used to. Gas, groceries, rent, even coffee, everything is climbing, and I'm not climbing with it. It's like I'm running in place. Every month, my expenses rise, and my paycheck is still the same. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment that's pretty basic but has a good location near work. It's just far enough from the city center to be affordable but close enough that I don't have to drive 30 minutes to get to the office. Even with that, rent is $1,200 a month, and after utilities, student loan payments, and basic living expenses, I'm lucky if I can save $100 a month. If something unexpected happens, a medical bill, car repairs, even a friend's birthday gift, I have to dip into what little savings I've managed to accumulate. I tell myself I'll make it work, but deep down, I know that's a lie. It's not working. And I feel like I'm stuck in a never-ending cycle of trying to get by, but always falling short. I start my days with a quick check of my bank account, and most of the time, I already know the answer. But I check anyway. I have to. I don't want to, but I do. This daily ritual has become a source of dread. I know I can't afford to eat out for lunch this week. I know I'll be canceling plans with friends because I just don't have the money for another $30 dinner. I've learned to avoid the things that remind me how much I can't afford. The new shoes I liked in the store window, the vacation posts from friends on social media, these things are just painful now. The worst part isn't the numbers, though. It's the constant anxiety that follows me, like a shadow I can't escape. Some days, it feels like I'm living in a fog, where I'm not really present because I'm always thinking about money. Will I have enough to cover my bills? How am I going to buy groceries this week? Should I go to that networking event, even though I can barely afford to leave the house? It's an emotional toll that I can't describe to anyone. How do you explain that you feel like you're constantly behind, no matter how hard you try? How do you admit that you're tired of pretending everything's fine when you're so far from fine? The mental exhaustion is a killer. The anxiety that sits in my chest, quietly growing every time I make a decision, every time I plan for the future and realize that future is constantly slipping further away. I've had to delay my dreams, maybe indefinitely. I used to want to travel, see the world. I wanted to go backpacking in Europe, experience a real vacation, take time off without feeling guilty about the lost income. But that seems impossible now. Even when I try to save up for something as simple as a weekend trip, it feels like I'm running on a treadmill that won't stop. The more I run, the more exhausted I get, and the less progress I make. I don't have the time or the mental space to dream anymore. It feels like I'm stuck in a system where dreams are just that, dreams. I've given up on the idea of owning a home one day. That feels like an unreachable goal now. It's like a joke I can't laugh at. With my student loan debt and the cost of living, I can barely make rent each month. I don't know how people my age are buying houses. I've looked into it, tried to figure out how I'd save for a down payment, but I end up shutting the idea down. It feels like a fantasy. Maybe for someone else, but not for me. Not in this world. When I talk to friends, I try to keep it light. No one really talks about money honestly, especially not when you're in your 20s. There's this unspoken rule that we're all just supposed to be figuring it out, pretending we've got it together, even when we don't. I hear people talk about their promotions, how they're saving for a house, how they're getting ahead, and I can't help but feel like I'm falling behind. I don't know how they do it. I don't know where I went wrong. All I've done is work. I've worked hard, but it feels like it's not enough. I don't know if it will ever be enough. I think what frustrates me the most is how invisible it all feels. No one really talks about how hard it is to live paycheck to paycheck, to feel like you're constantly battling with numbers that never seem to add up. I wonder if anyone else feels as overwhelmed as I do. I've stopped posting about the things I used to be excited about. There's nothing exciting about getting by. It's not glamorous. It's a grind. A daily effort to not drown in the costs of life. I've had to cancel so many plans, not because I don't want to go, but because I just can't afford it. It's embarrassing. Some nights, when I'm lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I feel like I've failed. I know I shouldn't feel that way. I tell myself that I'm doing the best I can. I remind myself that it's not my fault the system is broken. But the guilt still lingers. It's like I'm in this invisible race, and I'm always behind, always playing catch-up. No matter how hard I try, I just can't get ahead. The hardest part is the hope that's been extinguished, bit by bit. I used to dream about the future, about buying a house, traveling, being able to enjoy my life without constantly worrying. But now, I can't even bring myself to think about it. I've had to set those dreams aside, like a book on a shelf that I'll never open again. I don't know when or if I'll ever get them back. For now, I just have to survive. I have to keep going, even when I don't feel like it. I have to tell myself that it'll get better, even though it doesn't feel like it will. And maybe it will, someday. Maybe things will change. But right now, all I can do is keep pushing forward. One day at a time. One paycheck at a time. It's just hard to see the end of the tunnel when the light is so far away. It's hard to talk about the weight. I'm not just talking about the weight of the bills that pile up every month, though they do weigh on me. It's the weight of knowing that every time I make a decision, I'm not choosing based on what I want, but based on what I can afford. Sometimes it feels like I'm suffocating under the pressure of a world that just keeps growing more expensive, faster than I can catch up. I'm 26 years old, and sometimes I wonder if that's too old to feel like I'm barely scraping by. The numbers are always there, flashing in the back of my mind: rent, utilities, groceries, car insurance, student loans, and the gas that never seems to stretch far enough. Then there's the little stuff: coffees, a takeout meal when I can't muster the energy to cook, the occasional weekend outing with friends. Every purchase feels like a negotiation with myself. Can I justify this? Is this something I'll regret tomorrow? Sometimes, I just want to buy something without that sinking feeling in my chest. But I don't. It's been like this for a while now, but it's gotten worse recently. I don't know if it's the inflation or if I'm just too tired to keep up with the pace anymore, but every price hike feels like a slap. I remember when I used to go out to a cafe once a week to unwind. Now, I have to remind myself that my one treat needs to stretch to last the entire month. I've even started baking at home more often, not because I enjoy it, but because the cost of buying a loaf of bread is ridiculous. It's wild how quickly I've learned to budget, but not in the way I imagined. I didn't learn about living a fulfilling life within a budget. I learned how to survive. I'm grateful for the job I have, it's stable, and I'm lucky to have it, but it's not enough. I can't work more hours because I'm already running on empty. I've been applying to other positions, hoping for something with a bit more flexibility or pay, but the market is flooded. Everywhere I turn, people are offering part-time roles at full-time expectations. And I'm not sure what's worse, the rejection emails or the ones that don't come at all. I keep telling myself things will get better. Just hold on a little longer, I whisper to myself every night before bed, knowing full well that tomorrow will feel the same. Or worse. My savings? Non-existent. Any extra money I get goes toward bills or emergencies. A sudden car repair or a medical bill sends me into a panic because I don't have a cushion, and it's terrifying. I hate that feeling of living paycheck to paycheck. It feels like I'm constantly treading water, and I'm afraid that eventually, I won't be able to keep my head above it. I have dreams. I want to travel, maybe buy a house someday, get out of this city that feels like it's just too big for me. But how can I make those dreams real when every day is spent battling just to get by? The hardest part is the loneliness that comes with it. I love my friends, but we don't go out anymore. I can't afford it. When I do have a few extra dollars, I'd rather save them for an emergency. We used to meet up at bars, go on little weekend trips, and talk about the future. Now, the conversations revolve around survival. Who can find the cheapest apartment? Who got the best deal on a grocery haul? And when we do get together, I can't help but feel like I'm holding back, like I'm lying to them by pretending I'm okay when I'm not. I've had to turn down things I used to look forward to. I had to cancel a trip to visit family because the plane tickets were too expensive. A few months ago, I missed a friend's wedding because I couldn't swing the cost of travel and a gift. I don't even know how to explain it to anyone anymore. It feels shameful, like I've failed somehow. I know it's not my fault. I didn't ask for this. But the weight of constantly fighting for what I need takes its toll. There's a guilt that comes with being in this position, one I don't think I'll ever shake. I look around at my peers and see them advancing. They're buying new clothes, getting promotions, even going on vacations. I want to be happy for them, but it's hard when you're stuck in a place where progress feels like a distant dream. Sometimes, I can't even look at social media without feeling a pang of jealousy. Everyone's doing better than I am, right? It's easy to get caught up in the comparisons. It's a trap. A big part of me knows this. But it doesn't make it feel any less real. It's not just about money. It's about how money seeps into everything. I feel like I'm losing touch with the things that once mattered most to me. I used to have this passion for writing, for creating, for doing something that felt like it had a purpose. But I've had to put those dreams aside. I can't afford to take the time off to write when I could be working overtime to pay the rent. I can't risk spending my free time pursuing something that might never turn into a career. And even when I try to pick it back up, there's that constant voice reminding me that I should be doing something practical, something that earns. The other day, I was sitting in my tiny apartment, scrolling through old photos of when I traveled and felt hopeful about the future. I've always had big dreams, and I still do. But every time I think about taking a step toward them, the weight of reality pushes back harder. The thought of saving for a trip, for any kind of escape, seems laughable now. How do you plan a future when today feels like it's a struggle just to get through? I don't know how much longer I can do this balancing act of pretending everything is fine, even when I feel like I'm failing. It's exhausting. It's mentally draining. But there's also this stubborn part of me that refuses to give up. I remind myself every day that this isn't forever. I can't keep thinking like this. I know I have to change my perspective, to hold on to hope, no matter how faint it seems. It's difficult, though. It's hard to dream when you're buried under this crushing reality. But I'll keep trying. I'll keep looking for that spark. Even if it feels like it's been buried deep under the weight of financial pressure, I'm not giving up on it. I just hope one day, I can look back and say that I made it out. Maybe I'll be able to take a breath and realize that I wasn't just surviving. That I actually found a way to live again. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.